dance for joy or lust or anger, and every time you haven't got it right, you're one of us. Do you know?
So welcome to Sensible Secondhand Classics, and this 4-year anniversary special video for the channel. This is a Triumph Dolomite, and it's a car that I used to own many years ago. This is the 1850 version, later known as the 1850 HL, and it's an absolute delight. So the Triumph Dolomite comes from quite a sort of interesting series of saloons that Triumph started to make in the mid-1960s. First of these was the 1300, launched in 1965. Later that was supplemented by the 1300 TC, which came about in 1968. The 1300 developed, I think, about 63 horsepower from the standard SC engine. That was the 1.3 litre version of it. The TC developed a little bit more, around 75 horsepower, though that's an SAE figure. In 1970, the 1300 was replaced with two models. The 1500 that was still front wheel drive, and then the Toledo that was rear wheel drive. They actually re-engineered the platform for the simple reason that, well, the 1300 was costing them a lot of money to build, like tons and tons of money, much more so than the Herald that was it was supposed to replace. That's why they kept the Herald in production. And so what we decided to do was have the expensive cars continue with front wheel drive in a facelift for 1500, and then they would have a cheaper car, a Toledo, which would have the shorter body shell of the 1300, but with sort of facelift that looked a bit like the 1500. In 1973 they actually changed the car again. They made the 1500 rear wheel drive and called it the TC. It's crazy. You could also get that 1500 cc engine in the Toledo as well, but they were mainly with the 1.3 engine that, because of the change from SAE to DIN horsepower, were now rated down, I think, 58 horsepower. The 1500 was only really available in the Toledo for export markets. That was both a two-door and a four-door car. The 1300 and 1500 were just four-door. Then they decided that what they needed to do was actually increase the power yet again and use a totally new engine. This was called the Triumph Slant 4 engine. Actually, it was co-developed with Saab, although Triumph did most of the work on it, and Saab got to use it first in the 99 in 1.7 litre form. But this is the 1.85 version in the Dolomite. It was just called the Dolomite when it was launched in 1972, and this develops 91 horsepower. The ultimate version, though, of this design is the Triumph Dolomite Sprint, which came in 1973. That used a 16-valve version of this engine, 2 litres, developing 127 brake horsepower. There were some minor variations on the theme as it went on, and in 1976 the Toledo finished and just became badged as the Dolomite 1300 and 1500, and an HL version was added to the 1500 with a bit more equipment, a little bit like this one. This is really sort of an HL as well, with this full instrument pack, and you know, in 76 it was renamed as such. But all Dolomites, they all use the long body shell as opposed to the short one that the Toledo and the 1300 had used. and they got, you know, different steering wheels and slightly different wheels and things like that. This car is a non-overdrive 4-speed manual. The overdrive was only standard later, same with the Sprint. You can actually get both the 1850 and the Sprint as an auto as well, although I've never seen a Sprint auto. Lloyd Vehicle Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. So here we are, Dolomite, what would later be called the 1850 HL, but as you can see from the back here, it just says Dolomite because it's a car that was made before 1976. Always thought on these, the exhaust pipe sort of protrudes quite a lot, and you've got to be careful when you're parking this you don't damage that exhaust when you're reversing. Longer tail, of course, than this, than the 1300 and the Toledo. My mother actually had a Toledo in the 70s. Unfortunately, I don't think it was very reliable, but nevertheless, that was one of the reasons why I bought my 1500 SE in 2005. So different wheels on this earlier car as well. We haven't got the chin spoiler either, that came later. You can put Sprint alloy wheels on this as if you want to. I did that on my 1500 SE, that had Sprint alloy wheels on it, but obviously this is the correct look of the car. The Sprint, of course, as well had a full vinyl roof. This just has vinyl on the seat posts, and no fog lights or anything. Those came later. Supplied originally by a dealership in Nuneaton, and I think these are the original plates on it as well, which is amazing. Something I remember very well is this opening of the boot like that. You can see here actually how to open up and get the sort of correct way here to fit the bulb. You can just take these screws out and that's how you fit bulbs, so I had to do that for mine. All sorts of stuff in here. The boot's actually quite capacious, not the kind of deepest boot in the world, but it's quite capacious really. So you can see we've got the aerial up because it's got the period stereo in it. Right, let's take a look at the engine, shall we? So here is the slant 4 engine, in this case developing 91 horsepower with 1.85 litres of capacity. I remember with mine, the battery was very easy to take out. As you can see, this is extremely easy to take out. You just undo those wing nuts. So pretty easy to work on, longitudinally mounted. This car's actually pretty good in terms of rust. It's very, very solid actually, this car. So pretty easy to work on. Bit of an oil leak. There you go, stand part as well. A very, very old name from the sort of pre-British Leyland days, I think. So yeah, there we go. Obviously you could get the old standard SC engine in here as well, the 1.3 and 1.5 capacities, and then the Sprint that was the 16 valve head. But this is the sort of first type of slant 4 engine that was used in any Triumph. One thing about this design is that the rear space is actually very limited. Obviously we've not got any rear seat belts or anything like that. If you find rear seat belts in a Dolomite, chances are they've been fitted aftermarket. So we'll try to get it anyway. One good thing about this car is that it's done about 40,000 miles and there's no sun damage on the top of the rear seats here. Normally they go there. So you sink down into this seat, and actually the rear legroom is better than I remembered in this. It's actually quite a fair bit better. Obviously this seat doesn't go back far enough for me anyway, but there we are. Because this is again a pre-76, we don't have head restraints in here. I think you could get them on the Sprint, but not in this one. Well, you do get ashtrays, ashtrays aplenty. In fact, there's an ashtray for every single person, apart from if somebody's sitting here. But I wouldn't want someone to sit here anyway, because I need to relax and read my Tricarta acclaimed Triumph Cars: The Complete Story by Graham Robson and Richard Langworth. And there's a picture of Dolomite Sprint on there as well, which is nice. So a little armrest here. You couldn't get leather seats in any of the Dolomites or any cars with this design. This was as bad as plush as it gets for sort of velour. The carpets are very thick in these cars. I remember the ones on my 1500 SE, which were sort of grey, being like this. Wood trim, of course, on here. Very sort of luxurious feeling little car. Now this mirror would have been originally black. It's actually been replaced with a chrome one, which I think looks a lot better, to be honest. Quarter lights. So yes, there we go. You can adjust the recline of the seat. You can put that back. You can actually sort of tips forward and back if you want to as well. So you can get a relatively comfortable driving position if your legs aren't too long. And unfortunately mine are, although I'm not that tall. So I'd want to go a lot further back than that, but that's just the way that it is. It's not too bad. If it's good enough for Laurence Collins, it's good enough for me. As you can see here, we'll just put the key in. An incredibly long key. I've always fought with these, and it turns the other way from everything else. So it turns back this way. So we've got the handbrake on, we're in neutral. I'm not going to start it. Look at these ignition lights. If I pull the choke out, choke light comes on. Don't know why the handbrake light's not working. Handbrake's definitely on, but you know, there we go. I can't adjust the beam because maybe I can actually. There we go. Beam light. Fuel is plentiful, so we don't need to worry about that. And then we've got these controls here, which are in really good condition. In fact, this car is generally in really good condition. Glove box here. I'll see if my secret mission documents go in. I'm not sure that they will, but we'll give it a try. No. Well, Lewis Collins clearly had smaller secret mission documents than me when he was on missions for CI5. There we go. Quartz clock in the middle. That actually shows the right time. That's amazing. Voltmeter. Temperature gauge. The only thing I'm missing is like an oil pressure gauge. I don't know why it's not got one if it's got a voltmeter, but there we go. Big hazard warning light switch here. If you turn that off, and we turn it that way. Yes, we do. There we go. And it works. She gets separate lights for left and right indicators, which wasn't a given really at the time at all. Choke lever is here. It's a nice manual choke. The wiper stalk and the indicator stalk are actually the other way around from what they are on a lot of modern cars, but at the time this was really normal for British cars to have them this way around, and some people prefer it that way around. I know Ian Seabrook does. Original period radio. We've got some nice vents there. I don't know how it goes up. It's sort of stuck like that, but it's okay. There we go. You can have it screen and car. That is, I think, the fan speed. Yes, it is. Excellent. And hot and cold and warm. So it's pretty easy to actually operate for, you know, heater controls in the mid-1970s. Door card in this luxurious vinyl with wood door caps. These are real wood door caps in this car. I think this is actually real wood veneer on the dash as well, which is fantastic. Wipers are right in my way. This isn't in Seabrook's channel, so we won't be doing a wiper test. However, we'll be doing a handbrake test. Sorry, a grab handle test, and that's amazing. Actually, they spring back. Inertia reel seat belts, which I'm very grateful for, and courtesy lights on that side for some reason rather than the driver's side. I don't really know why that would be, but there we go. I think later Dolomites, certainly mine, didn't have these grab handles, had a different type of grab handles. Right, I think I'd better enjoy myself by going for another drive, because I think the opposition are after me. So with 91 horsepower, imagine 0 to 60 in this car, something like 11 seconds, something like that. Still on a manual choke, of course. I do feel like Lewis Collins in the professionals, because for the first series, not all the episodes, but some of them, Lewis Collins drove a white 1977 Triumph Dolomite Sprint with a vinyl roof. Some of the first series episodes, and I had a Dolomite myself. It was a 1500 SE from 1980, and this is a bit of a different prospect. We've got quite a different engine, developing more power, about 20 more horsepower actually, in fact. Gearing seems very different in this. Handling is quite good. There's a bit of body roll, but then there was a bit of body roll, unlike most of these really old cars. And it's just a pleasure to drive. The chap who owns this car, his name is Brian, and Brian used to work for Rover until the mid-1990s, and he heard about this car because it came as a trade-in to one of the dealerships where one of his friends was working in 1991. So he's owned this car for 31 years, and I am just really privileged to be able to drive this. I'm really enjoying it. That reverse gear thing is a bit annoying, but overall this long for a gear lever reminds me of my old 1500 SE. The engine is not the same. It's not an OHV engine, it's an overhead cam, but it still does sound a little bit, maybe it's a transmission one, I don't know. And driving position is very upright in this car. You can't really go very far back. I have tried, but it's just a lot of fun. I'm having very nostalgic, nice feelings about this, particularly as, of course, I'm a big Professionals fan, and you know, I had the 1500 SE when I was about 22 or 23. It was a long time ago now, and I do sort of remember it very well. So viewers, should you consider a Triumph Dolomite as a sensible second-hand classic with your hard-earned budget up to £5,000? Actually, I would say you might want to. You can still pick these up for under £5,000 in reasonably good condition. Maybe not the Sprints, those are an awful lot of money these days. 1850 HL's a little bit less, and then the 1300, 1500s, a little bit less than that as well. I think if you want a 1300, the original round nose one, you're going to be paying a bit more. And of course, if you want to know more about those, just watch the iDrive Classic channel. Obviously, you've got to watch for rust. That's a massive one on these cars. Oil leaks, that's pretty standard on these. I think both engines have oil leaks. And just general kind of neglect. I mean, you might want to check the timing chains on these. I think they're all timing chain engines, as far as I can understand, rather than gear driven ones. But yes, thank you ever so much indeed for watching this 4-year channel anniversary special of Sensible Secondhand Classics. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this, and leave a comment below, and we'll see you again soon for more budget friendly classic motoring.
Dance for